Um, who am I? I'm Adam Slakowski. I'm blind. I received a second bachelor's degree in computer science from the U of I Springfield. I did it as the blind person. I won't take up time in this meeting, but one of the things I do want to ask the speakers, I hope they address, is accessibility. I was very lucky that the head of the computer science department and Dr. Vance Martin, for some reason, either took pity or a liking on me, and they fought for my accessibility. It was an uphill battle. I don't have to tell you that book publishers now produce the whole course, and that material is semi-accessible. So when the speakers talk about their academic and their certifications, in the back of the mind, what I'm looking for or listening to is how accessible is it for a person, not only with a visual impairment, any impairment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Certainly, I can tell you firsthand a topic very passionate for the people on this call, and we'll be glad to expand upon that. So thank you for sharing that.
Albert?
Albert, if you're there, you're on mute.
And Tim, just note that Luke's put his in the chat window.
Okay, great. So we'll make sure we read that one out. Thank you. Albert, are you there?
Perhaps Albert perhaps he stepped away. We can come back to him. Jeff, how do you feel about the primary question?
Jeff, if you can introduce yourself also.
Are we talking about Jeff Fisher?
Yeah, Fisher.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Jeff Fisher. I'm serving as the interim director of technology support and media services at Joliet Junior College. Let's see, the question being, how do you see the role of degrees and certificates changing the future of IT careers? I am a strong advocate for hands-on experience, and so I believe that there is a need for a degree just to get maybe the ball rolling. I work for a community college. I champion the idea of a community college degree, and then on some level, to me, I think you're best off to kind of get your hands out there and get some work experience and build your resume that way, and then add additional education beyond that. So I can see it having long-term advantages, but I think in the short term, some education and then some hands-on is crucial.
Thank you, Jeff. And Jeff, it means a lot that you joined. Thank you. Jeff is my second favorite sibling in that family, and my second favorite ever IT director that ever did that role. So you know, if it wasn't for the other people in this call, Jeff, you'd be first. But you know, unfortunately, you got trumped by the two other peers in this call. But it means a lot that you joined, Jeff. Thank you for joining.
Yes, it's important to know your place. Thank you. I do know mine.
And Jeff was well represented. If those of you remember, we a couple of years ago did a ITKAN meeting with about empathy VR software for nursing, and we had a presentation there. One of Jeff's team members was there. Jeff was very involved in that. That was a great meeting, Jeff, and we appreciated Cameron coming out and doing VR. That was back in the days where we could get together live and see each other and physically be together, and that was some great learning for us in that meeting, Jeff, about VR and empathy software. So Jeff has already been represented. Jeff also put some notes together on Teams, offline for us that I'll share too for using Teams. So Jeff has already been a help even more than he knows for our group. So thank you, Jeff.
All right, Jerice, could you introduce yourself and give us your thoughts on the question?
Of course. My name is Jerice Kantrick, ITKAN board member, advisory board member, plus I'm a help desk level 2 with NRTC. We do a lot of help desk call center for our customers and business customers. I believe the last several years I see certificates coming more than degrees. A lot of companies like mine now is offering more certificates than degrees. So I think it's really going to show the ball rolling in the next several years. So I would just recommend just get a lot of training, get all the certifications you need, and mostly get the best experience in IT careers, especially with cybersecurity.
Great. Thank you, Jerice. And Jerice is kind of our hero rock star in ITKAN. She's been involved in many years. We've seen her evolve in her career and leverage our contacts here and grow and then also as part of it be part of the advisory and give back. So we kind of always point to Jerice as the model of what we hope this community can do. And we appreciate all that you do, Jerice. You've been such a great ad and backer of ITKAN. And we missed your mom. We know your mom. It's hard to find time, but we always think about her, and her mom had been very involved in her group and important part of her family there.
She just screamed your name about 5 minutes ago.
Please tell her I said hey. So
Okay.
Nisar, could you introduce yourself and give us your thoughts about the question?
My name is Nisar. I am a freelance sort of temporary data writer for many bike clubs and bike stores, and I myself have 3 certifications. I think like Adam said, they are more important and will become way more relevant than degrees.
great. Thank you. I did not know you had 3 certifications. That's terrific. So
Thank you.
Orlando, good to see you again. Could you introduce yourself and tell us your thoughts on our question?
Orlando, you there?
Looks like you came off mute, but we can't hear you.
I see you back on mute, or if Orlando sees your, there you go. You'll type it in. Sounds good. Thank you, Orlando. Go ahead and please type your.
In the meantime, I'm going to read Steve's response. Steve Luker says, I see a lot of developers getting into the field without degrees. People switching careers. He agrees with what Adam H. says about certifications. People don't want to or can't spend years in college. And he thanks Adam. Also, technology changes so much that people still would need to learn the new technology to get a job, even if they were to graduate in a lot of cases.
I also see Steve added to introduce us. I'm Steve. I'm a developer on 4 wheels. I have a love-hate relationship with sidewalks. In other words, accessibility is very important to me. Thank you, Steve, for sharing that. When we're live, we get more chances for Steve also to add his text-to-speech to the voice to the meetings. And he's been great at helping us understand the technologies, and he's behaving better about not disrupting meetings, but we miss Steve's disruptions to the meetings here. So that was part of the flavor of being live. So thank you, Steve.
He makes an excellent point about the new technology to get a job, which also I hope we talk about today, points to the idea of lifelong learning and returning back to places like Joliet Community College to refresh skills and reskill.
Great. Thank you, Steve. We miss you.
Tim, I've been skipping over the presenters since.
We'll get a more formal introduction to those presenters, and they're certainly going to expand on this topic. So Dr. Sullivan and Dr. Roohani will certainly give you a chance to have a longer introduction and expand upon this topic. So we didn't want to skip you to think that your opinion wasn't valuable, but this was also helpful for you to kind of get to know the group. And as you talk, you can kind of cater this towards the questions and the input that you're getting from our members.
So I'm going to skip down to Kathy Topol. Hello, Kathy. You can introduce yourself and tell us what you think about our primer question. Then we'll get to Orlando.
Sure. I'm Kathy Topol, and I've worked with ITKAN for many years on the strategy advisory team, and excited to be having this opportunity to talking about educations and how community colleges are very important. I'm a community college student myself. That's where my first degree was from business computer programming. And I went a long way with my 2-year certification. And I couldn't be more thrilled about the fact we're having those discussions again, because I think we're at a turning point in organizations where community colleges are taking on a different role. And some of these degrees and certifications of the past are the types of things that we need, because technology specifically changes so quickly that we need to be able to be nimble and change with those technology changes. And I think the community college, that's a real sweet spot for that area, and what you can do in those communities and how much value you can bring. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to be hearing from the community colleges.
I was a little sad that Kathy was very involved with our competitor at JJC and very involved down in Kankakee Community College, was doing some great things there. So in fact, it was neat, kind of met the president through her of there. And so Kathy really, even before I joined JJC, had been very involved with community colleges, even if it's our competitor, which is okay. We still like our competitor. So
can't help, I grew up in the Kankakee area, so that's landed me there. If I was in Joliet, I probably have been at the Joliet Community College.
Dr. Roohani can attest, we're all sort of like coopetition. We do far more sharing and getting along than we do. Most things in community colleges are very geography based, so we share information well together and get along very well as a community of community colleges. So,
are you a member of the American Association of Community Colleges?
Myself. No.
Our JJC, I would imagine in some level we are. If we are, we don't probably actively do things, but we do very much do a lot of things within. There's a group called SHMEC that we're very involved with, which is the Southern Metropolitan Higher Ed Commission, and most of the community colleges in Illinois are part of SHMEC, and we interface with them, greatly. So, great. Thank you, Kathy.
Sure thing.
All right, I'll read off Orlando's response. He says, hello, everybody. I'm a voice engineer for Accenture. I believe that certifications will be a benefactor for those that are interested in the field of technology. I'm currently pursuing my certifications, CCNA and Network Plus, as I am now configuring Cisco voice gateways.
Oh,
thank you, Orlando.
Awesome. Great. Congrats, Orlando. That's great.
Wenzel, would you introduce yourself and let us know your thoughts on the question?
Hello, my name is Wenzel. I am a financial analyst for Crane Composites. I know ITKAN through my incredible brother, Timothy. I was holding for applause, but I guess there was none.
They're muted. They were deafening, but they were muted, so that's why you didn't.
When I joined the workforce, degrees were everything. But now that I see in the company I work for, when they are recruiting people for new roles, they rely heavily on certifications. And the staff that is there now, they have yearly goals in going out for more certifications as part of their goals. So to me, it sounds like certifications are bumping degrees greatly.
Thank you. I appreciate so much you joining. You are my favorite brother of all my brothers, by the way, unlike Jeff being my second favorite there. So, and once you wouldn't mind expanding too. You on your own, you had started back in your career in a community college and on your pursuit of your 4-year degree, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Through McHenry County College.
Yeah. So, I think one of the other topics talk about lifelong learning and accessibility. It's also and certainly community colleges don't have the the only place for that. But one of the things many things I love about that environment is that it's a lifelong learning and returning at any point in your career, right? So all of us on this call are in various stages in our career and continuing to grow. And fortunately, unfortunately, IT is something you have to keep learning, keep going back to school, keep getting certifications, and a big part of what community colleges is serve is whatever time in your career you are, there's still a place to come back or come for the first time to school and learn and refine your career. So thank you.
They went full circle for me. So I started at Lake County College and then went down to Illinois State, and then I stopped my schooling. And then later, when I was more mature and had more work, I decided to go back to school. And I was only able to finish that off because Columbia College had an association with McHenry County College, and I could finish my degree there.
Also, it's great, persistence to work through and get that degree through different ways. And a lot of times it doesn't matter how you ultimately get to the end goal; it's that you get to the end goal. So I think you're a great success story of leveraging a community college to your ultimate getting your degree and being successful. And it means a lot for you to join. So thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, and we'll wrap up with John Roohani. John, introduce yourself and let us know your thoughts on the question.
Let's see if I can get my camera here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, John. Good to see you.
Okay, hi. My name's John Roohani, and I'm a graduate of Joliet Junior College. So when I graduated, there were only 2 IT programs, either computer science or EET. And so I chose EET because I grew up in a household where we had electricians, engineers, and so forth. And I graduated in '87 and bounced around between the analog world and IT throughout my entire career. And so right now it bounced back to the IT world, and I work with Azure Cloud and in a manufacturing setting. What we're discovering is that you have to have both the degree and the certification. The degree gives the person the wholeness of a person. So, you go to community college and you get the fundamentals of your career. So, and nowadays I think it's the A+ program in many places, but also critical thinking, how to write, how to communicate, and to involve yourself in the community, which is just as important as having knowledge about what you are going to do on the job. So they are hand in hand, and that's how I look at it. So
John, thank you. That was so well said that you almost gave the whole presentation there, which was terrific. You're a perfect example of many aspects of the story, right? Which is you're a graduate from the school, which is terrific. You summarized very well the and nature that we're going to talk about. I've known John a while, and it's interesting how your career evolves. And I joined JJC and didn't know that John had been a graduate there until after I came there. He's like, oh, I went to school there, so it was neat. As after I joined Joliet Junior College, finding out that John had went there, and certainly used that as part of his successes in his career. So thank you, John, both for joining and sharing that, as well as for being an alum of JJC.
You're welcome.
Oh, Brian, I think we got through the list. Is that correct?
We have, yes. So you can go
well,
ahead
great.
and
I'd like to share a little thoughts before we kick off and moderate our two speakers. Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction, and hopefully give some good input for our two speakers as we moderate. My name is Tim Rossler. I am the Director of IT Applications at Joliet Junior College. I've been associated with ITKAN for about 10 years now. And when I started ITKAN, I was Director of IT and CIO of a manufacturing company. And then partially through the connections here, worked for a year for a nonprofit that Adam and I were both part of. And then for the last 4+ years, I've been at Joliet Junior College. And with there along the way has been, ITKAN. And I love it when my two worlds collide. And I had been wanting to look to be in careers in IT, but find an outlet for more of a philanthropic, more serving the community, but still do what I do as an IT leader. And a community college ended up being a very good home to have both. There's IT pains and all the struggles, and Jeff and Dr. Roohani can attribute to. We have the normal, typical challenges an IT director would have, in an institution, but you get the philanthropic side of you're making a difference with students and you're involved. And it really was a learning for me being part of a junior college. And for me coming in, I'd always associated, like my brother had said, is, hey, I needed to get a degree, but as our careers have all evolved, the certificates have become more important. I was curious to see, had community colleges kept up? Were they evolving in certificates? Were they also inclusive and passionate about accessibility like we talked about? And I found very much, at a community college, the word community was very critical, and community colleges embraced accessibility. They embraced multiple paths to success, and it fit very well. And this topic fits very well into community colleges because multiple paths to success, multiple degree certificates, and also making sure we have accessibility and inclusiveness are very critical in the day-to-day life of a junior college. So it's a great home, and it's a great fit for the topic of that as community college. And with that, one of the things I found is you get to meet these wonderful people that teach classes at community colleges. In fact, sometimes there might be a belief that because I'm paying less for tuition than I might be in a 4-year school, or it's a 2-year program, I might get lesser quality education. And not just because I'm biased, but to be very honest, I found very often you get the opposite. You actually get people that are teaching out of passion, that maybe if they're teaching at night or not, are very credentialed, want to be there to be involved in the community. And our two speakers are just great examples of that, right? That they are two people I've been blessed to meet in my career at JJC, as evidence of they're willing to come and speak here. And we've, I can attest that both our speakers, embody our topics of what are here about, inclusiveness and finding paths for students. So with that, I wanted to get a little more formal, longer introduction of both of our speakers. Dr. Sullivan, I'll start with you, if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit more longer introduction of yourself, and your background.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate the introduction and having me here as a speaker. So hello to all of you. Thank you for your kind introductions as well. I've been working and teaching at JJC for going on 18 years now. I started basically revamping what was our web design program. It's an associate's degree, and also teach some 3D modeling for our game program. But basically over the years, we've looked at web design, we've seen it evolve. I've been a part of the committees where our JJC website has gone through some different versions over the years and been on those committees. I remember back 15 years ago when they started talking about Section 508 and how we had to be compliant because we were a state or federally funded college. So being a part of this whole process has allowed me to really embrace what we need to teach in the field of web design to make sure that all people, whatever the physical, audible, visual, cognitive disability is, that they have full access to all the same content as anybody else. So that's basically the last 3 years has been my focus, is really creating a certificate for people that want to learn more specifically about ADA compliance, Section 508, Section 504, what the WAI initiative is all about, what CAG is, and how we can modify our web pages to make sure that we're hitting all these markers, as well as any documents or content that we put online through Word or Excel or PowerPoint or PDFs or EPUBs, and how to make those also fully accessible. So we've created a few extra classes for our students in the degree program. We've created a stackable credential out of it for people that are looking just to hone in on that aspect, or a little bit of both, so that way people can show that they have a specialization in web accessibility while they're working towards their AAS in web design, web development, social media. In short, in terms of the question that was posed right here, leading up to this, I think that it really depends on whether we're going to see more industry certs or AAS degrees or bachelor's degrees. What we tell our students is really right now, look at Indeed.com or some of the other job websites. Identify what your ideal career is. Is it a web developer? Is it a full stack developer? Is it a UX designer? See what the different platforms are you need to know, the different software, and identify with those opportunities what the requirements are. And if your ultimate goal is to be a software engineer, well then, if that's what the goal is, identify if you can possibly obtain the AAS degree right now, get employment, get some work experience from it. And if so, maybe your employer will help have a tuition reimbursement program as you pursue the bachelor's degree or onward. And for some students, it's directly to a bachelor's degree because that's what the doors of HR want. That's the credential that they're looking for, and they're not looking to waver on that. But I will say that in addition to whether you choose to have a certificate of completion, associate's degree, or bachelor's degree, there is no doubt having industry certifications are huge, and they're only going to get bigger and bigger in the field of IT. It's one of those fields that industry certs have been a part of for greater than 20 years, and other areas really haven't gravitated to picking up on how valuable having the certs are, which so be it. But in the field of IT, I think it's remarkable that we have updated, newer certifications coming out that allow people to show that they have updated their knowledge on whatever the topic is, because COBOL programming 20 years ago isn't the same as doing Java development or Java programming today. So we have to show that we're constantly being updated with the latest and greatest in technology. So thank you again for having me.
Great, thank you. And we'll ask a series of questions, but we can certainly also take questions as we go along. But thank you for that introduction. Again, thank you for joining us. I also wanted to introduce Dr. Roohani. When I first joined JJC, as I mentioned, Ben was my peer, and then I think I scared him away but in the short time we worked together, I grew to not only respect him as an a peer IT director, but also he taught classes, and I was like, it made him, I think, in my mind, a better IT director, understanding what it was like to instruct, and a better instructor by being an IT director. And I always admired you about, what you brought to both being teaching and an IT director. It was such a great example of, how blessed our students were to have someone that was teaching, that wasn't just teaching theoretically about things, was also doing the things that many of them were aspiring in their career. And this was a great excuse to touch base and say, hey, we're trying to get city colleges more involved. I love ITKAN, but more of our members geography-wise are probably in your geography than ours. And you jumped right on the opportunity to speak. I greatly appreciate it. So with that, if you can give a longer introduction for yourself and some initial thoughts about the topic, Ben, I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Tim, and everyone else. Angela and Jeff, who I worked before. It's great to see all of you. You didn't scare me off from JJC. No, I had to move because of the distance. I was driving, so everybody knows, about 58 miles back and forth every day. So for 7 years, I've said, well, it's time to move on to another opportunity. So I love working at JJC. I still keep in touch with them. Tim, thank you for reaching out. This topic is very part of me, and I appreciate this opportunity. I have experience working at a community college for about 20 years. Different aspect of it. I started as a help desk manager, help desk analyst at UIC first, and then I worked on my way to become a manager. So I kind of know ins and out. And then I moved to different community college, College of Lake County, and also I think your brother went there, Tim.
Yeah.
I worked there as well. I worked at JJC a few years now at City College of Chicago. I've been here 3 years, yep, since I left JJC. It's been a great experience working at community college, to be honest. I really enjoy coming to work every day, to be working with my staff, the faculty, administrators, and students especially. So they're the backbone of the community colleges, I see. Not to go far, and when my son graduated from high school, and that was the time I moved to Chicago, he actually attended Malcolm X College for 2 years. Now he has UIC. So he had a great experience going to 2 years at community college. So with that you get a lower tuition. In his case, he didn't have to pay tuition. So it really worked out for us to have a no payment for 2 years. And then he had great classes here. He was majoring in neuroscience. So I want him to go to computer science, no pressure. So I let him go to what he likes. So he's actually has across the street from here, not too far from UIC. We both come to school at the same time. I drop him off and I come to work. So my background really is in the help service desk and also classroom technology. And right now I manage the media services at the JJC. That was Jeff. That was hard for him. And also doing a lot of technology campus-wide. I also have teaching, as Tim said, I have teaching experience. The first time I taught was at Oakton Community College. That was part of teaching with lifelong learning. So I really enjoy getting in the classroom and teaching the adults how to use the computers. This was a few years ago. And my really teaching with having the teaching and the credit courses started at CLC when I started teaching the CompTIA courses for certification. So with teaching that, I learned a lot myself, and I was able to teach the students the inside out of how to support and also be able to maintain computers and so forth. Currently, I have a few projects that I worked on, so I want to touch bases on that. One was we successfully designed and implemented a cybersecurity lab at Malcolm X College. Just finished this past January, and we're hoping to have that kicked off, having classes soon. Right now they're online, but they will be on campus to do that. Also worked on couple of projects was student technology chatbot using the Microsoft Power virtual agent for our students as well. And also we had another chatbot that we implemented that I was part of. It was for student services. And we also had I know this is hard, Jeff's area. He likes that, the VR. That's something I picked up from him when I was at JJC. And I was able to get a company involved with us to have that the VR technology integrated with LMS. We're using Desire to Learn, which is Brightspace. And with some of the program in health sciences are using the VR now, which is part of their courses. Those are my background. But as far as the topic goes, I think it's important to have certification, not only the degree. As we go through the questionnaire, I will explain to you how I would prefer someone has both of them. And if they don't, if they have the certificate, it would actually can justify for the years of experience or education. I have a couple of examples I can talk about it later as we go on.
Great. Thank you for that introduction. So with that, we have some questions. We'll keep an eye on time and look to try to work towards 7. But one of the things we get you in this group for our 2 speakers is that we're already thinking about you joining more meetings and connections. That's how they suck you in, which is good. That's part of our job here. We would love to welcome you to any future meeting we have, you know, especially when we get to do things more physically. And we'd love to go tour. You know, I think for a lot of our members being in Chicago, we can have a follow-up date to kind of tour some of the things live when we get live. But for now, you know, we're keeping virtual, which also helps in some ways make it easier to join. And maybe we can also do a virtual tool, but we certainly will probably have more time, more topic than time. But the good news is part of this is connecting and reaching out, and we'll continue to have these conversations, not just in this meeting, but ongoing. So with that, I'll give a little bit of background, but we'll jump into questions, but also feel free to put in chat questions also, or raise your hand if something particularly strikes you. But for our speakers, you know, one of the reasons we thought this was a great topic is this year we're really focusing on transformation for our members. And the world was transforming before the pandemic with technology. Technology evolves quickly, but the pandemic was like an accelerator of the change for, you know, technology. And even at JJC, we had to go in many classes that were not taught virtual to a class taught virtual overnight. And with that change, some of it was very challenging and painful, but some of it is opportunity. And many of our members were looking to continue to improve their career, take advantage of the opportunity that's there in this transformation of what we're going through right now. And in thinking about the transformation, we were talking about as an advisory team that, hey, community colleges are a great opportunity to partner with our members to transform your career, that they offer things that can help transform their career. So it was a great topic that came together of, hey, we're transforming during a time that's very challenging, but we have connections and people that are right in pillars of the community of community colleges that our members can take advantage of to help transform their career, whether it's job prospects or development. So keep that in mind as we ask these questions at our members here. And for our members, think through of, hey, how could I, and many of you have already done that and have taken advantage of that, right? How can I continue to find ways to add to my career? Because I think we certainly all agree that it's not an or of a degree and certificates, it's an and anything you have in your resume will only help you, and we'll get into some other topics. So with that, I'll start getting into some of the topics. We've touched base on this first question, but I'll still give one last chance to kind of each of you to expand. But one of the things I love about Dr. Sullivan, one of many, is that she helped me kind of get the right academic definition of things, you know, too. So with that, you know, the landscape has changed with both degrees and credentials. If you wouldn't mind starting with what your definition of those, and kind of from more of an academic view, what you see the difference between badges, certificate, and degree credentials.
For sure. So actually part of my dissertation when I was going for my PhD was focusing on the use of badges, and would it be something that our students would benefit from while they were working towards their certificates or their degrees. And so what I found is that the badges exist for a lot of different purposes, but they're not there to mimic what the degree or the certificate is doing. So the idea is to provide another method or mechanism to prove that you have the soft skills, you have time management, you have communication skills, which you can't really identify from a student that graduates with a 4.0 that they have time management skills. So like, it's in addition to your course of study, how can we prove that you've gone above and beyond? So the idea of the badges worked out really well for our students, not so much from the soft skill side, because that's not what I was looking at, but from a leaderboard standpoint. In today's society, our kids and students and adults, they're looking for fun. And so with all that we're balancing, whether it's, you know, if you're a full-time employee, a full-time parent, and you're trying to go to school, you got to have some fun. And so the idea that you could have a leaderboard to see where you were ranking on whatever the topic was that you were studying, it kind of made it more fun. It gamified whatever the course of study was. So that was one of the biggest benefits that came out of studying and using badges in the classroom, was that the students could see where they were ranking on the leaderboard. So whomever just asked the question, what kind of badges? the badges that we were looking at in my field of study was in terms of like ranking within the course. And so if I was giving them the opportunities to go through and complete some assignments and do it the first time with 100%. So not to take it, retake it, but like, could you go through and study the material and then hit 100% off the top? And then, you know, you could earn a badge that way. I looked at badges from a different perspective. If you could work ahead of the schedule for time management, could you get it in 2 days before the actual due date? You could earn a badge. So we're trying to like incentivizing them to go above and beyond just submitting the coursework. They can find the answers online, or they could look up the solutions. So we wanted to see that they could go above and beyond whatever the actual task was outside of just getting an A on the assignment. So we actually found that students were very much incentivized by the badges, but and to describe a badge, there's a set of credentials that have to be created in order for the badge maker to create a badge. It's not like I could just go out there and say, okay, let's create a badge, you know, that says that, you know, I can talk for 20 minutes straight. It's more like you have to hit whatever the points are. There has to be credentials or something that can actually be measured to make sure that you've hit the key points. And so that's part of the creation of the badge. And then once you hit those, then the badge is assigned to you. The other side of it was the social media, because everybody's on social media and we're all about sharing what we can do well. And so whenever you earned a badge, I encouraged the students to then post their badge on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, whatever. And so it was one of those things where then when they posted it, they were getting feedback and likes and thumbs up and questions from their friends and peers and family saying, oh, what did you just get that badge for? And so they could say, I'm doing really well in school, or I come back to college and I'm doing awesome. So it gave them that confidence that they may have needed to keep going and to push on. So that was the side of the badges that worked out really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to build on that, Steve, it's a great question, you know, and for our members, you know, sometimes you're not going to get necessarily even a certificate or a degree from a class that you take, but you might get some acknowledgement of that, something that skill brought. And you're seeing more and more on LinkedIn, people posting these badges of, hey, I took this. And it's a level of, okay, maybe a badge in something isn't the same as a certification. And maybe that's not the same, obviously, as a PhD in computer science, but they're still building. And while they might not be as big as a PhD in computer science, they might be very specific to a skill that show you have that, right? So when you're out there marketing yourself, you know, taking advantage of anything that kind of shows your skill, whether it's a badge, whether it's a certificate or a degree, but also understanding like, hey, I'm posting a badge I got in one class. That's not necessarily going to equal a certificate or a degree, but it might be breaking the tie for someone that is equal in skills, and it shows you have particular skills. And I think you will see in LinkedIn more and more, you'll start, now that you hear about it, you'll see more and more people that are posting their badges. And I love it, the way that, you know, Dr. Sullivan views it as, hey, there's benefits of each of when a badge would come into place versus a certificate or a degree credential. So great. Well, thank you. That was a great overview. I will leave in the slide deck some slides for everyone that also show some visuals of this concept. I put some text to websites that go in a little bit offline if you wanted to get that. And to describe them, basically what we're describing is the different levels of badges might lead to credentials, might lead to certificates, might lead to degrees, but they're all important in today's world. And then I also had a slide on the most common certificates that are out there. It sounded like the group had very good understanding of the certificates. But as we've mentioned, you know, all of us have said that we've seen that certificates in our field are more and more becoming important in this world. So I'll move on. I'm going to shift my topic to Dr. Roohani, but I'll also give Angela an opportunity to say the same thing. So we've talked about badges, certificates, degrees. Would you mind telling a little bit about what does City Colleges offer? What's out there what type of classes out there that our members might consider taking advantage of that are part of the catalog at City Colleges, both towards certificates and degrees.
I'm going first, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a list of programs that we offer. For example, network and system technology that provides or give the student applied associate in science degree, and with that degree you can take it either at Wright College or Daly College. So for those of you who know, CCC has 7 colleges throughout Chicago. So some of the programs are dispersed between the campuses. Not every campus does offer those degrees. And we have a web development, which gives you applied associate in science degree. And also that can be taken in the Wright College, Daly, Kennedy King, Olive Harvey, or also at Malcolm X College. And we have computer science associate of science degree, which can be taken all 7 colleges. I don't have to mention that. So the way the program is designed is to spread out to colleges. Some of the program, all colleges, some are not. And then we go to cybersecurity. We just started. Wright College was the first within the community college at Chicago to offer that. Now we have actually 5 other colleges are doing it, and Malcolm X is one of them. So the course, actually the cybersecurity was part of the WEI program, which was the first workforce initiative, workforce equity initiative grant that we get 2 years ago, and we were able to finally finish that and get that going up and running for that program. And we do have different certification that the students can get as a CompTIA certification are offered at Wright College. At Malcolm X, we don't have that offered, but I'm trying to work with the CIS department to initiate that and get that going, because I see a lot of demand. Geographically being located close to the West Loop, Chicago, our campus can really have a lot of people come from downtown and take courses here. That's one of the things. We've had to move the cybersecurity from the remote campus, the extension campus we had, to the main campus, so we can get more enrollment on that and be able to offer that program to our more students in this community. So we do have those in plan, and also with the cybersecurity, we also have cloud technology, which is offered Azure at Wright College as well. And one of the things we want to do at Malcolm X is to move forward, use that cybersecurity not only for cybersecurity course and networking, also cloud technology as well. We're working on that with Dean of Instructions. So those are the programs that we have at Malcolm X. I want to keep saying JJC. I'm not at JJC, so.
And I think I mentioned this to you offline, but for the group, I wish he was on the call. I know he had to drop for a second. I wanted to pick on Adam. He's known I've worked at JJC for a couple of years, and recently he had taken a class at Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Came into our advising group. He's like, I took a class at Malcolm X, and wow, our community college really offers some great things. And I'm like, really? I've only been telling you that, Adam, for 4 years. So part of this came about is I appreciate him taking that class. He was very impressed with the class that he took. And for all of our members, whether the geography works better for Malcolm X or City Colleges or JJC, it's a great opportunity to build your resume up, and whether it's one class, whether it's a degree program, and we love the fact we have someone here that can help talk through that. And you might meet if you take a class there, but the geography of a lot of our members is in the Chicago, and the location of City Colleges and Malcolm X is a great geography. There's a lot of great offerings there.
Yeah, Adam mentioned that to me in a separate email as well. I know we talked about it. We have a lot of students they are working full time, but they come in and take courses with us to just have the certification, so they can add it to their resume as well. And it's a great opportunity. A community college is the best can happen to our community. That's why we call it community college, right? So offering those programs and certification that then students get, or people that work can come in and take it at community college. It's cheaper too, you're right. And then we have high quality professors as well throughout community colleges.
Great. Similar question for you, Dr. Sullivan, kind of at JJC, kind of the offerings and how JJC views sort of a degree track versus badges and some of the development, if you wouldn't mind expanding on that.
So so there's a couple different things. One is we do offer associates of applied science in the cybersecurity and Cisco and web development and computer programming. Within each of those individualized AAS degrees, each one has a set of different stackable credentials that can be earned while you're working towards the AAS. In case you don't want to go for the full AAS, there are also standalone certificate of completions as well. What this has offered to our students is the opportunity to show growth as they are going through their continued studies, and maybe they're not full-time, so it takes them longer than 2 years to get their AAS degree. So they can show that they have a specialization in whatever the stackable credential might be in. So for example, on the web design side, there is in fact a stackable credential for web accessibility specialist. So once the student has knocked out those classes that are part of that certification, they can apply for graduation for that certification while they continue to work towards their AAS degree. On the resume, it looks like they are continuing, and they are continuing to educate themselves, but it shows that they have specializations in certain areas. So in addition to doing that, they also have an a la carte area, we'll call them that, but it's really the elective area. In the area of electives, they have to take, let's say, 4 or 5 classes in which they can choose from 20 different classes. But if they follow along a pathway for, let's say, social media, then you can get a certification of completion in social media specialist, which hones in on search engine optimization and Google Analytics and understanding how the different social media platforms are working, and as developers, how we utilize those. So that would be the pathway that they want to go. Those classes will be used towards the AAS degree, but they also show that they've got a specialization in that area. Students that want to take an a la carte and they want to take a class in Cloud Essentials, a class in social media, a class in web development, they totally can do that as well. It just won't earn them that stackable credential in the end unless they choose to go above and beyond whatever the credits are for their AAS degree. Aside from having the stackable credentials, various set of classes will also lead students to industry certs, should they choose to pursue them. So on the CCNA side, 2 or 3 classes, they can then choose to take the CCNA industry cert while they continue to work towards their AAS. Meanwhile, they can still take more classes that are going to apply towards the CCNP, and so they continue to take those industry certs. And so same thing with like Cloud Essentials, there's cyber ops. So specific classes also lead students to the industry certs, aside from the stackable credentials that they're also going towards the AAS degrees.
Yeah, and for our members, and Dr. Sullivan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's important to look at when you're trying to add a class to your collective resume. If you're doing it very specifically for a credential, or you're doing it for, hey, very specifically, I want to get my degree, whenever you can have, in my mind, stackable of, hey, I'm getting it for both and I have a plan, that's great. And I think that's part of what you want to analyze is, hey, I'm taking a class, I want to get the most out of that class. Where am I in my career? Is this where I need more to get towards my degree? And it's just as important to get credit for it, or, hey, I've got a degree, it's more important that I show my certificate. The nice thing is that community colleges are flexible and there are paths for both. But I think for you, as you're thinking about adding classes, it's important to kind of think about what way you can maximize that class and what fits best for you. And I think that's part of why this topic came about. But all of us at any point in our career still can find ways to take a class and it adds to our overall academic resumes. It just depends on what we might be focusing on at that moment in our career.
You're absolutely right. In addition to all of that, we also try to make it so that way students can transfer their AAS degrees, which are considered non-transferable degrees, that they want to go on for the bachelor's degree. So if they want to transfer that AAS to another institution for their 4-year bachelor's degree, we have what's set up as the 2+2 articulations. And so with that, we can also suggest to students, if you want to transfer to, say, Lewis University, then these are the courses that you should really take on this Associates of Applied Science degree, so that you can transfer over there to get the most bang for your buck when you transfer over to Lewis. So there's a reason why there's an a la carte of choosing for the people that are looking to transfer. There's also the reason why we've got the pathways. to get them to the stackable credentials. So we're trying to work with a lot of different people and their needs, the way we structure the degrees and the stackable credentials as well.
Good segue. So speaking of working with many people and their needs, right? You know, one of the things I find that a community college is a good home for me is that community colleges are set up very well to help students with disabilities, to make sure that we're accessible. And in a lot of cases, even the same class in one location versus the other. And Adam, going to some of your earlier things about accessibility and teaching inaccessible, I truly believe that community colleges, while they can improve, and we've had many conversations internally how we can improve our accessibility, do have a focus on making sure their classes are accessible. With that, the landscape has changed during the pandemic of classes for everyone. And it has led us to do more. Even our ITKAN group, which used to be physical only, is virtual. Classes are virtual. You know, Ben, how has the teaching landscape changed during the pandemic, being virtual? How has that impacted potentially things with students with disabilities? What is your view of the impact of teaching in a hybrid environment, particularly during the pandemic?
I believe that pandemic had a great impact on the way we teach and the way the students learn. Barnes and Noble had research done from the students, and I think it was like 65% of the students said they wanted to learn differently than they had before pandemic. So as IT goes, we have to re-strategize and make sure to make changes that aligns with the students' learning, the way they want to learn. Also the way faculty teaches as well, because we really went all of a sudden to online. I know a lot of faculty at CCC were not teaching online. They were not even using the LMS, but with the pandemic, there was no choice. They had to. They got everything online. So we also looking into having active learning classroom. Like I think Jeff was part of it, that he did that at JJC. We're looking at that. We converted a couple of classrooms from computer labs into the more active, and also looked into on the active side, active learning side, we flipped the traditional classroom. By that, the faculty has no longer have to teach from a podium. They can provide hands-on activities, and also we have pods that are wired with the students. That devices can get powered and networked, and the setting is designed in a way that's more comfortable for students to be more inspired and collaborate with each other. So that's what we did. We also look at in the high flex classrooms. That gives the faculty and the students the ability to have the student with on campus or join the class remotely using Zoom or Teams. We basically use Zoom for the classroom. That's what we have, the tool that integrated with our LMS. And with that classroom that we designed, a couple of the high flex classrooms, this is go throughout the other colleges as well within CCC. Basically, the high flex classroom is a blended course designed to allow students to choose whether they're coming on campus or off campus. Give you an example. My son has a class at UIC. This morning I asked him, are you going to the class today or you're on Zoom? He said, today I'm on Zoom. So the faculty at UIC give him the option to be in the class or to do it on Zoom. So that gives him very flexibility as to where he wants to learn. They can choose whether be on the classroom. We could really offer social distancing as well, because we went through pandemic. We learned that one of the issue that we had, that you had to comply with the social distancing, and also with the 5 Flex, you are providing on-campus instruction and also online flexibility. The rise of flexibility, I think I mentioned that with the Barnes and Noble. I'd have to repeat it. While in-person learning will allow maintain its value, technology will allow the future of higher education to become more accessible and more desirable to students. In fact, well, actually, with 69% of the students had more flexibility for attending the classes and completing classes. Coursework was a key need. So investing and improving our digital learning and classroom technology is a must, and that's the future. It is here, but we have to look at the future as well. With cybersecurity, what we did, we added high definition cameras with optional pans, which it tilts, and with the zoom option on it, microphones that drop from the ceiling, touchscreen monitors, and also document cameras, and updated the podium's control panel to be able to faculty to control the cameras and the microphone in the classroom. There is another part of the hybrid flexible classroom is the advanced one, where you have monitors in the back of the room so the faculty can see the students who are remotely joining in the classroom. So it makes it more interactive. We don't have that yet. So that's probably in the future as we work to those in that. So with the hybrid flexibility, we actually create equitable learning, which means amongst online and in person, so they get the same value on their teaching, on their learning. The student engagement in person and online, we talked about that, and also line up technology with the courses design that can be very time consuming at the beginning. Once you set it up, you have less maintenance on those. So beginning also, the faculty might have issues with those, but we can work those out with the faculty, make sure that all the issues are resolved and they can use those flexible classrooms. Those are the things that we looked at into as far as the pandemic goes. With other challenges we had during the pandemic, moving everyone to online was a challenge, but we were able to provide more training on as we went from the beginning and make sure everybody's there. One of the things that happened during the pandemic, the only college out of the 7 colleges were Harold Washington, which had online classes only. So that has changed. Now every colleges within the CCC can offer online classes. So that was another change that happened within the district.
Sort of accelerated your online schedule, you know.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to hear the same from Dr. Sullivan and JJC, but before, I would like to pause and ask, you know, you've certainly heard what Dr. Roohani said, that the goal is to make the classes more accessible, and hope in being virtual, it is, I love when you said equity, right? And equity there, right? And certainly I know firsthand, not to steal Dr. Sullivan's thunder, that's our goal at JJC also, and we've done that. But I'm very curious to hear from our members, and especially our members, you know, where, you know, the disabilities have made it harder or easier for virtual classrooms. And even in our meetings here, we've gone from live to virtual. What are some of your thoughts about classes now being virtual, meetings being virtual like this? Has it made things more accessible overall, less accessible? Anything that can help us, you know, as we're trying to strive to be more inclusive? Any thoughts that the members have that they'd like to share about how the pandemic has affected their accessibility and their view of classrooms? And I'll give some time, you know, certainly continue to ask that. We'll continue to expound on thoughts, but please feel free to share if you have observations or thoughts, you know, about accessibility and how that has been impacted in a virtual world. So Dr. Sullivan, you wouldn't mind kind of expanding on the same thing about the, you know, I'm sure very similar to what Dr. Roohani said, but your thoughts in terms of the dynamic and virtual and how that's impacted JJC during the pandemic.
Yep, I'm in total agreement with Dr. Roohani. Like, I don't think that this was a bad thing that has occurred, unfortunately for the pandemic side, but for forcing everybody in the whole nation to understand what Zoom is, what Teams is, what WebEx is, to encourage grant funding to get students that need laptops at home to have accessibility to the actual technology that they may not have otherwise had access to, that allowed them to be enrolled in classes from their home when maybe they didn't have the money or the gas or the transportation to get to school, or if you had a physical disability, it was challenging to get to school. Like, for so many different people outside of just the pandemic side, I feel like this has opened up so many eyes and opportunities to people that didn't otherwise have that opportunity. So to my standpoint, I feel like it's been a level of a blessing to allow other students to become a part of a classroom that they may not have otherwise been a part of. I also think because I teach IT in HTML and CSS, and I do a lot of recordings. And so I feel like for the last decade that I've been doing the recordings, my students have loved having the ability to go back to whatever the topic was that I lectured on, that they could go back and watch it. And so I also feel like for so many other students in other areas, they're now having this opportunity, if they had any kind of cognitive delays or issues, or just comprehension or note-taking issues, or they attended school, but they weren't paying attention because their mind was elsewhere, or maybe they were out sick and they couldn't go. Having the recorded lectures available to these students has been amazing, because they can go back on their own accord and go through the lecture, or they're doing their homework at midnight on a Tuesday. They can jump to that part of the lecture that they missed, or they forgot, or they didn't understand. And so they can see exactly what we were talking about, or the explanation that came with whatever it was the lecture was on. And they can kind of troubleshoot and work through some of those issues, versus I have an email and I need to send it and I need to answer right away. Like, it's giving that opportunity to kind of go towards whatever the answer would be, because the resources are there for them now that they have access to it from home. So I feel like it's been a blessing for so many that didn't have access to the technology at home. Excuse me. The other side of it is that it brought to light, when all of us here know that accessibility has been a big component and issue, and an issue that we want to get solved. It brought to light, I think, to other faculty and other people, members on campus, to say like, hey, listen, if you have a lecture out there, you need to have it closed captioned. Or if you have chosen a book that isn't totally accessible by a screen reader, we need to go through disability services and have them transcribe it. And so I think it also brought about, in a good way, all the things that we need to do for everybody to have access to the information that we're presenting. Whereas before, I think it's a topic that's it's talked about, and we know it's an issue, but maybe people didn't know how to fix it. And so I feel like there is a bigger initiative, at least from JJC's campus, to say, if you have students that need access to this, or if you make a movie or video, you have to make sure you close caption it. So I think for many different reasons, we've all benefited from the knowledge and topics that are being shared now.
Thank you for sharing. Steve had posted a question I will read, and thank you. This is a great, where it can be good and bad, right? Virtual. I like hybrid ideas. One thing is, because I am nonverbal, I have different perspective. Nonverbal people often get lost in the mix. Yeah, in person, I might not be heard right away, but I can make sure people notice me. Hybrid is great because of weather or being tied up for travel that day. But no, Steve, you're right. I find as you guys see, I'm loud and outgoing, so I'm going to be heard whether I'm virtual or not, just because that's part of my nature. But whether it's from a disability or just from a style perspective, right, that virtual might have people that are louder and people that aren't being noticed, not noticed more, which isn't the intent. What are both of your thoughts about Steve's comment there about making sure that people don't get lost in the virtual shuffle?
Well, from my perspective, whether we're doing a live presentation or if it's offline and doing asynchronous, there's collaboration. So every week we either have some sort of discussion forum that students have the opportunity to create a video. If they don't like to type, they can create a video to talk through whatever it is that the topic is. If they want to post pictures because that describes it best, they can do that. If they want to type up what their answer is, and they have to have a dialogue and respond to so many different people and whatnot. So having that discussion forum with a complete open opportunity for students to participate, whatever they're most comfortable with, has been working well for us. That's one solution that we've done.
Great. I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff and at JJC. Jeff has been great about taking the lead at learning tools like Teams and sharing those lessons, right? And I think we're learning as a ITKAN group, part of this is getting good at using Teams and using the tools that are out there. And you've seen Teams evolve to hand raising and emoting, things to have that. And Steve, it's a great point, right? That whether it's disability related or not, hey, if we're not getting noticed, can we use the tools, right? So part of this is for our members is, learn the tools like any technology, find ways that the tool can help you get noticed, can get your opinion across, right? I appreciate that the intent is to be more inclusive. The tools are hoping to drive more inclusive things, but if you're not taking advantage, or we're not taking advantage, like of closed captioning, and the tool has it, it's not the tool's fault, it's us. So we hope the tools will evolve along with it. And we've seen during the pandemic, the tools have evolved, and we've learned better at JJC how to use the tools to help making sure they drive inclusive behavior. In the interest of time, I want to shift to one topic a little near and dear to my heart and share a good story. So John, I've mentioned, went to JJC, and we've talked, and Jeff, you might not remember this, but at one point there was a media job posted at Joliet Junior College, and we often post jobs. Junior colleges not only instruct, they employ. And I'm always recruiting, whether I'm recruiting for ITKAN or recruiting for JJC. And I'm like, well, hey, I know this guy, John, that's in ITKAN, and there's a role here that he might fit into. And it didn't work out from a full-time or part-time perspective, but it was a great story. And I see both of you on the call now, like, wow, I almost got John and Jeff hooked up in a role, and that was part of me recruiting on both sides. And it's a win-win, right? Because JJC needs strong, workers that have great skills like John. John's looking for employment, right? That's part of employment, is connections and bringing people together. So I'm going to start with you, Ben. You've both been an instructor and an IT hire, right? And you've seen, like Jeff has, like I have, we employ lots of student workers, and in a lot of cases, being a student is a way to also get some work and apply at a community college. And I think many of you in ITKAN, I've encouraged to apply for jobs. Do you think, what are your thoughts about how employment at a local community college is a way to assist your transformation, to take advantage of that? And what have you thought about, as you've had student workers that have worked in IT, how that's worked and how others might consider that a path?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I think that's a great opportunity for students to get their foot into the IT industry, getting a job with their local IT department. We have, I've been hiring students in past job and past 3 jobs that I had at CCC. We also have that program where we hire students. It's a great opportunity for them to come in and learn more about how IT is operated, how to provide support, how to work with people, learn not only technical aspect of it, but also on the soft skill as well. So give them a great opportunity to get into IT environment. Is that a good idea? Excellent. They can put on resumes. And I think the follow-up question was, I had students who had succeeded as a student worker, got their degree, and they got a full-time job, part-time job or full-time job within either our department or other departments. I think JJC is an example. I currently have employees that have been here as student workers and then become part-time within IT. And after they got their associate, they apply for full-time. Yeah, we do have a full-time person that works here currently that it was a student. I had another student that when I started at the CCC, I keep saying JJC, at CCC, he was a student when I came in 3 years ago. Just last semester, he became part-time and became part-time lab manager for my department. And there was an opening at Wright College as an IT service associate. So he applied for the job there, and now he's a full-time employee at CCC at a different college. So there's a great opportunity for students to get as a student worker, learn it, move on to the part-time or full-time. I still keep in touch with some of the staff that I have that I worked before, and they've succeeded, and they're full-time working in different colleges or companies. I think it's great. It is great to learn from your colleagues within the local IT department as you want to work in that environment. Yes.
Great, and thank you. Another story of that is, you know, with the pandemic and being virtual, that's opened up maybe opportunities for prior, we would have had a harder time hiring someone. So Jerice, and as you were looking for roles, I'm like, oh, I'd love to have Jerice work at JJC. She would be wonderful at the help desk, but the geographies and the transportation would have been challenging. If we can remove that barrier and have it be that you can work virtual, that opens up, you know, a job that might not have been there before, right? So it hit home to me where I saw members like Jerice, like John, you're like, hey, I'd love to have them work at, you know, the community college. Maybe now with the changing landscape of virtual, that'll open up opportunities for our members to consider, whether it's at a community college or other places, of applying for jobs you might not have applied for before because of geography. So.
Yeah, one of the things that has happened that has after pandemic is some of the position that we have, we want to make sure that we do put in there is a remote working so they can work remotely. That is an option that we have at the district level, but not for IT because I have to have my staff work on the first level, so they have to be on campus to get things done. But other position within IT, like a web development or working in ERP, that the district has decided and the board has approved it, but it has to be announced or posted as a remote work. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Dr. Sullivan, kind of the reverse of that, you've seen that with your students that are working, you've also been with student workers. What are your thoughts about how that juxtaposition between students working at the college and what that brings to the classroom and vice versa?
So actually, two people that still work under you, Tim and Jeff, is Raquel Fox and Theo. They are graduates of our program that then got hired on as potentially part-time positions, and they became full-time positions, and they worked their way up the ranks over in IT. So I feel like that was a great opportunity for those students to graduate and then get their feet wet and then really love where they worked. About a year, well, actually before the pandemic, 2 years ago, I think, Tim, your team brought in 3 different individuals to do some web accessibility for our website. And it was grant funded, which was amazing. Once the grant ran out, obviously we didn't have employment for those students or graduates. But as soon as they put it on their resume that they had experience and knowledge and specialization in web accessibility, they were swooped up in no time flat and fully employed and loving it. So I think it's a great opportunity if there's a good match for the position that's open and the student that's there. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, but that's the key, is I never want to put a student that graduated with their focus in web design to go do social media for marketing. You know, that's not their forte. I want to give them the opportunity to kind of really get into a position that is their forte in their specialization area.
Thank you. So as we knew would happen, we, as I like to say, had 30 pounds of potatoes for a 20-pound sack, which is great, right? I love the energy and the topics. I'm so grateful to our guests. I hope for our members this was valuable. We were also going to talk, and Ben, we'd love to learn more about the Simulation Center at, what we're going to do is hopefully use this as a chance to get you back, and in a future topic, we have some good future topics queued up of where there's a keen interest in virtual reality, there's a keen interest in offerings in Chicago. So in the interest of time, we'll table that, kind of tease that for a future topic. Hope we can get you back and talk about that, make some connections offline, but we didn't get to talk as much about VR and the simulation technology centers, but again, we can extend these conversations offline. Want to use the last couple of minutes, first off, to thank very much our guests for speaking. You're welcome to all the future meetings. Any last questions from our members for our panel? And then Brian, I'll kind of turn it over to you, so sort of final thoughts to close out the meeting. But again, thank you both for presenting. I hope the members found this valuable.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Tim. It was very insightful. I learned a bunch of things that I hadn't known before.
Well, great. So we will follow up with the recording of this, correct, Brian?
Yes.
And
might not be till tomorrow sometime, but certainly yes.
I will also share the slide deck. I tried to be a good steward of an accessible slide deck and put all tags in there, but Adam, keep me honest, and we need to continue to grow to make better materials ourselves. Dr. Sullivan, I laughed. I told her like a day before a conference, we're speaking an accessibility conference. I realized how inaccessible my presentation at the conference was, and we had to quickly. So this is good practice for all of us to keep, not only when we're doing this, what ways can we do different technology for our group? And you'll see more. We're trying to build out our own team site in ITKAN. We've sent a little bit of there. We're starting to join that. If we can get good at using Teams in our own team site, we can continue these conversations offline. We're really hoping to have communications where someone has a question, if someone has a job opportunity, that we can extend our meetings beyond just the meeting time once a month, but chat on Teams, discuss. We're still learning, we're evolving, but we promise there's going to be more in our group. And Ben and Angela, you're more than welcome to join that team site and comment with us and work virtually. Jeff, will certainly continue to use your help how we learn. And I like it too, because it makes me better at my job. I practice here, I take things back to JJC, I take lessons there. So I think for all of us, getting better at virtual tools is the new norm, and that should help our group. So Ben, Brian, any final thoughts on next preview? I think next month we're back to kind of an open forum.
Yes. Next month will be that open format that we had in January, and that will be the 10th of March. So I will be sending out some emails. Probably next week will be the first one as a reminder, and I have everything set up, and it'll be virtual again. We'll get together and kind of discuss where we're at and anything, just kind of have an open discussion about career, advancing the career and transformation. So
awesome. Well, thank you all. It was a great meeting. Keep transforming, and looking forward to future conversations. So, all right, stay safe, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
I avoided. Oh, did Tim leave?